Our next topic is the submandibular region. The submandibular region, it involves the deeper structure that are present between the mandible and the hyoid bone, including the floor of mouth and the root of tongue. The submandibular region, it will contain suprahyoid muscles, submandibular and sublingual salivary glands, and submandibular ganglion. What are the muscles of submandibular region? They are digastric muscle, stylohyoid muscle, mylohyoid muscle, hyoglossus muscle, geniohyoid muscle, and genioglossus muscle. The first is the digastric muscle. The digastric muscle, it has two bellies. It has, that is, the anterior belly and the posterior belly. The anterior belly, it originates from the digastric fossa of the mandible, whereas the posterior belly, it originates from the mastoid notch of the temporal bone. The fibers of the digastric muscle, the anterior fibers will run downward and backward, and the posterior belly fibers will run downward and forward. So both the fibers, they will meet at the intermediate tendon. That is held by fibrous pulley to the hyoid bone. What is the nerve supply of the digastric muscle? The nerve supply is anterior belly is supplied by a nerve to the mylohyoid muscle, and the posterior belly is supplied by the facial nerve. So if you get an MCQ in your exam, that anterior belly of digastric, it is supplied by a nerve to the mylohyoid muscle, and the posterior belly is supplied by the facial nerve. What are the action of digastric muscle? The digastric muscle will depress the mandible. When the mouth is open widely against the resistance, it will elevate the hyoid bone. Stylohyoid muscle, it is a small muscle that lies on the upper border of the stylohyoid muscle. It originates from the posterior surface of the styloid process, and it is inserted into the junction of body and greater cornu of the hyoid bone. It originates from the styloid process and insert into the greater cornu of the hyoid bone. The nerve supply of stylohyoid muscle is the facial nerve. The action of stylohyoid muscle, it pulls the hyoid bone upward and backward. With other hyoid muscles, it fixes the hyoid bone. The third is the mylohyoid muscle. So it is a flat triangular muscle that forms the floor of the mouth cavity. It has origin from the mylohyoid line of the mandible. It has posterior fibers that are inserted into the hyoid bone, and middle and anterior fibers, they are inserted into median raphe between mandible and hyoid bone. The nerve supply of mylohyoid muscle is nerve to mylohyoid. The action of mylohyoid is to elevate the floor of mouth. It helps in depression of mandible and elevation of the hyoid bone. The fourth is the geniohyoid muscle. So it has origin from the genial tubercle and insertion into the anterior surface of the body of the hyoid bone. The nerve supply is C1 nerve through the hypoglossal nerve. It elevates the hyoid bone and depresses the mandible when the hyoid is fixed. Hyoglossus muscle, it is a muscle of the tongue. It has origin from the greater cornu and lateral part of the body of hyoid bone, and it is inserted into the side of the tongue between the styloglossus and inferior longitudinal muscle of the tongue. The nerve supply of hyoglossus is the hypoglossal nerve. It will depress the tongue, make dorsum of the tongue convex, retract the protruded tongue. So these muscles are very very important. They have been asked in your entrance exam multiple time, many a time. A much based question can be asked. So you should be clear to these muscles. Your concept should be clear to these muscles. Coming to the submandibular salivary glands, it is a large salivary gland that is situated in the anterior part of the digastric triangle. The gland is about the size of a walnut, weighing about 15 to 20 gram. It is J-shaped that divides the posterior border of mylohyoid into larger part and a smaller part that is lying deep to the muscle.